TV time.
The Cowboys offense looked awful early, then got it together. Herman Edwards on what changed with Dallas and what it means for their playoff hopes. In college, 8 teams for 4 playoff spots. Which team can afford to lose tomorrow and still get in? We'll set you up for this wild weekend. And we know Kyrie is good in crunch time. Now we may know why. It's all in his head. Explaining. Coming up.
It's where you come when you want the most. Every city, every state and time. Get ready, we about to break it down.
So, good morning, David. I'm from the West here in Los Angeles.
Yes,
I don't know if you know that.
Yep.
Okay, good.
Got it.
And that's David Lloyd at the headquarters, as he often likes to call Bristol. I hear that Cowboys Nation, you guys are very excited and all is well, perhaps going to the playoffs. Is that correct?
Well, that might be a tad premature.
Okay.
For one night, no one's screaming at and yelling at each other, Carrie.
Yeah.
Cowboys did take care of business. The playoffs are a long ways off, but a start in the right direction.
It's part of the plan for this organization. The highs are going to be really high and the lows are going to be low. Having the confidence in myself, this team, this organization, that we'll get right back to where we need to be.
Ball might have come out, and the Cowboys have recovered a fumble at the Washington 19. Throws it in the end zone, touchdown to Whitten, right at the post. It is a touchdown pass for the first time since the game against Kansas City. Into the middle of the field, the 40 throws a tackle, Switzer to the 50. This might be the one for Switzer, to the 20, to the 10. Ryan Switzer with a somersault into the end zone, touchdown. Prescott throwing a fade, left side of the end zone. Bryant leaps, caught it for a touchdown, and it's the 72nd touchdown of his career, and that is the most in franchise history. Give it to Morris, coming in left guard, to the goal line, touchdown, Alfred Morris, and his patented baseball swing, and he hit that one right out of the park.
What do we say, Herman?
How about them Cowboys?
Thank you very much.
I know you like them Cowboys.
All right. They were okay for what? They were terrible in the beginning.
Yes,
First 12 plays, they managed 8 total yards, no first downs. Then something switched. What happened with this Dallas offense last
Well, they didn't panic, and they stayed true to their beliefs. They relied on their offensive line, which they should do. And think of the running back. We know it's Morris. He can run the football. And this one play illustrates why they won this game. They ran it 42 times for over 180 yards.
Yes.
4.7 average carry for this young man. And when you look at the situation here, I want to run this tape for you just a little bit, and we're going to stop it right here. Okay, now, here's the situation. These guys are going to load the box. They're loading the box. It's on the back. When I mean load the box, I mean this. Load the box means they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and here's number 8. That's the 8th guy. 8 guys in the box.
That's a lot of guys.
That's a lot of guys. And we have a dual tight end look over here. So it tells them right now they're going to run the ball over there. But this is a zone play. Watch what happens here. Nice. Here's the safety in the box. Now, we give it to the back. Look at the offensive line, what they do. The 8th player right here that comes in the box, we've got him over here. We've got him blocked out. Watch the ability of these offensive lines to cut the defense. What I mean cut the defense off so they can't come back. Watch the back. Nice hole. We got an alley right here. That's a big 15-yard gain. If you keep running the ball, you will hit plays like this. Now, I know if this was a Zeke, maybe he'd go 60. But this is a big 15-yard play. They went back to their strength. It's running for. Look at all these great blocks here. Look at all these great blocks.
Yeah. When you say
like.
zone blocking,
Yes.
explain really quickly what that is.
They come off, they get a hat on a hat, and they just roll. They roll their hips and their hands, and they make a wedge for them. Look, this is like a wedge block again. Look at that. Huh? Look how pretty that is.
Yeah.
I got all them deadgum lines on there. Take them lines out of there, okay? But they've got a nice, that's the alley. You can't block it any better than that. David, even you can run through that hole.
Yeah, I mean, anyone could.
But remember,
Alfred Morris having a huge
This
day.
is their best unit. Their offensive line.
Yep.
Correct? That's their best unit.
Yep.
Look at it. Watch him run. He'll finish off the run. Does a nice job. Makes the guy miss.
Pay it off.
15
First down.
yards. 15-yard gain.
Into Redskins territory.
Yes.
And that's how they did it. Redskins fall to 5-7. Somehow still mathematically alive in the playoff race. A million things would need to happen. Cowboys at 6-6. Let's take a look. They're still facing long odds.
Schedule.
Here's what the schedule looks like. Actually, the schedule's fairly favorable.
Yeah.
They got to go to the Giants, who are 2-9. Raiders having a down year. Then the Seahawks, got to take care of business there. That's a home game, though. And then the Eagles might be resting their starters in Week 17. How do you see the path for the Dallas Cowboys trying to get into the postseason?
I think if you're the Dallas Cowboys, you have to have this number in mind. You got to win out.
Absolutely.
You have to win. You got to win 10. Because the problem they have right now, it doesn't look like they'll win the division. The Eagles win the division.
Yep.
You got to say that, even though you're a Cowboy. I know that hurts you.
Yep.
Look at the NFC South. There lies the problem. You have 3 teams over there, Atlanta, the Saints, right? Carolina, they're going to probably win 10 games. That's who you're competing against for that wild card.
Dallas has already lost to the Falcons,
right.
So they lose the tiebreaker there. So, yeah, a lot of things have to happen. But first and foremost, as you mentioned, they got to win.
You got to win. You just got to win. Don't worry about anything else. You got to win.
Got 2 more games, and then Ezekiel Elliott comes back. We'll see how it plays out. Herman Edwards.
Cowboys!
How
I see you, Cowboys. How about
those
Cowboys?
Measured excitement from David Lloyd. One of the biggest days in college football is tomorrow. Number 1 Clemson taking on Miami in the ACC title game. ESPN's Football Power Index likes the Tigers in this one, giving them a 75% chance to win. The Big 12 Championship rematch, it's what it's being called, features Oklahoma and TCU. OU won the first meeting 38-20, and FPI gives the Sooners a 60% chance of beating TCU again. And in the Big 10 Championship, Wisconsin and Ohio State face off. FPI projects a 65% chance that the Buckeyes will hand the Badgers their first loss of the season. And in the SEC title game, you've got a rematch between Auburn and Georgia. That'll be interesting. FPI thinks this game basically a coin flip, giving Auburn a 50% chance in the contest. Those 4 games are all matchups of teams ranked in the top 10, excluding bowl season, of course. It's just the second time that there have been 4 top 10 matchups in the single week since an AP poll debuted in 1936. And the first time there have been that many on a single day. Joining us now, Paul Feinbaum, as well as David Pollack. Guys, we've got some interesting things to talk about. I'll start with you first, Paul. So what do you think the committee would do if they had, we're playing the what-if game here. So what do you think the committee would do if they had to choose between a 1-loss Alabama and a 2-loss Ohio State team?
I think it really depends, Kerry, on how Ohio State plays tomorrow night. If they dominate Wisconsin, if they annihilate them like a couple of years ago when they won 59-0, I think they might jump over Alabama. But if they don't, then I think some of the metrics, not all, and the eye test, which is important, may favor the Crimson Tide.
Kerry, I think the opposite. I think it would easily be Ohio State. 1, they'd have a conference championship to punctuate it. 2, we've seen throughout the committee's thought process, they will forgive losses. They are less, but they want you to have big wins. Obviously, Ohio State would have a couple big wins on their resume. Penn State and then Wisconsin being 2 of them that Alabama can't compete with in no way, shape, or form. So I think the committee would 100% put Ohio State in over Alabama.
All right, David, so let me ask you this, and I've asked Paul this all week long because he's been on the show. Who will be in the top 4 come Sunday?
Oh, Lord have mercy.
You have the answers.
I don't have the answers. I think it's so interesting just this weekend period. I just hope that the favorites don't win because then our show on Sunday, Paul, for 4 hours is going to be really boring if all 4 of the top 4 win. But I think that we have at least one not be chalk. So I'll say Ohio State. Maybe Ohio State upsets Wisconsin and Ohio State at 4. How about that? I'll give you that. I don't know.
What do you think, Paul?
Yeah, you know, I'd love to have TCU win and Ohio State win because you're right, David. There's a lot of time to fill on Sunday, and if there's nothing to talk about, we'll have to listen to you drone on ad nauseum. So I think Ohio State is going to beat Wisconsin, so there will be one thing to talk about. And back to David's argument, the conference champion does factor in. Last year, the committee went against the conference champion, which was Penn State, putting Ohio State in. So this committee is a little bit hard to read. It changes every year, Kerry.
Yeah, no,
but I'll say this too. I'll say this too, Kerry. Though last year the resumes, Paul, weren't the same. You know, you're talking about a 2-loss Penn State versus a 1-loss Ohio State. Now you're talking about. So it's obviously it was a different situation. Now you got Alabama on the flip side being a 1-loss, but now you got a conference champion and 2-loss. So it's gonna be curious. But what you said is right. We don't know what these committee members are going to place an importance on at the end of the season because we've seen it fluctuate over the last couple seasons with selection committees as people cycle in and cycle off.
All right, you guys, lastly, let me get to this topic. We breaking news earlier. Paul, I'll start with you first. We're talking about your school. Just recently, we just heard athletic director John Currie is out after what is being called an unfortunate, some say disastrous coaching search. Your take on what's happening at Tennessee?
Yeah, well, it's been disastrous. I mean, it's been like watching an episode of Game of Thrones, quite frankly. And John Currie, according to people in Knoxville, went off the reservation yesterday by going out and talking to Mike Leach, which was probably the best choice he has met with, and the university fired him today. Kerry, I think I've been on with you 3 or 4 times this week, and every time I have been on, I've said the same thing. This can't get any worse. I'm going to say it one more time. It cannot get any worse, although I've been wrong 4 times.
Yeah, but you know what, though? Here's the thing with this coaching search is I know it looks bad, and it is, and obviously Curry's gone, and obviously all the names and all the people who's gotten pay raises and all the people have said no. All that matters is you get a good coach, and obviously it looks bad now. It looks horrible. It's been bad and all that stuff. And I think it's interesting that Currie, made a selection to Greg Schiano. I think that a lot of people that know football thinks that it would have been a decent decision. But now you're talking, you wanted to please the fan and you back out. Now you're trying not to let the fans know what you're doing by flying out secretly or whatever to hold an interview with somebody. And now that's the reason you're getting fired. So, you can't please the fans. Tennessee, I hope that what they do is they look within their self and their little security blanket and they say, how do we get the best coach for this job? And don't worry about the fans or anything else. Worry about what's best for the University of Tennessee.
All right, David, you say don't try to please the fans, just worry about the University of Tennessee, but they also have to look at the optics here. Paul, I'll give you the last word on this. How do you see this playing out?
Well, I mean, right now you don't have an athletic director, Kerry, and the athletic director is in charge of the search. I mean, maybe Tennessee just ought to have a vote. Let the fans decide, since they've been running the search from the beginning. In the end, I think you'll get an interim athletic director. You'll get an interim athletic director from the university today, and someone will eventually say yes, although we're now 7 days into this search.
All right, David Pollack suggesting a Twitter poll on the search. I don't know about that. Meanwhile, gentlemen,
why not?
Thank you so much. Yeah, I'll see you guys on Sunday. David Pollack and Paul Feinbaum here on Coast to Coast. David, I'll send it back to you.
All right, Kerry, to put a bow on this whole Tennessee thing, check out what The Rock says. This is where they put the messages on the Tennessee campus. Welcome to the Tennessee Browns. Dilly dilly, a shot at the program, a shot at Browns owner Jimmy Haslam, who's a big University of Tennessee booster. His